stressful for the body, and it sets off the fight or flight reaction, which is false energy. The second thing it does is you're eating all these hormones from the animal, not only its regular hormones, but when it was going to be slaughtered, it knew it, and so it pours out huge amounts of adrenaline and cortisol, and that is not destroyed by cooking, and you eat all that. So it gives you energy, but it's not the kind of energy you want. If you want to look at the most energy people have, you look at the beasts of burden, elephants and camels and horses. They're all vegetarian.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Those are the ones that have the most energy. Now, the cat family, lions and tigers and leopards, they have spurts of energy. They can run fast for a short distance, but they don't have long-term energy. And they eat meat.
Yeah,
but they have a very short, straight intestine, so they can get those waste products out very fast so it doesn't kill them. Human beings have a very long, coiled intestine like the horse and the deer. We are meant to be vegetarians.
Ah, okay, I see. There we go. And of course, as I said, I myself am a vegan and have chosen this path for the moment. And I mean, for those that might be in between, so to speak, who might be considering all these things, but still have, kind of like worries, maybe if they is there certain things that one should think about when we go on a vegan diet? What should we eat to get all the nutrients and vitamins and so forth?
Well, certainly, it used to be thought that vegetarians were going to be low in vitamin B12.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true, and I discuss that in my workbook as well and on my videos. Because you need so little vitamin. You need vitamin B12, but you need a very small amount of it. In your lifetime, you need about the amount that is found in the period at the end of a sentence in your newspaper. All right?
Yeah.
Now, the reason the doctor said that vitamin B12 was not in vegetarian products, it was only in animal products, is because they didn't have the expertise and the equipment to find that small amount. Because it's in a lot of foods.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
It's in alfalfa, it's in barley, it's in a number of vegetarian foods.
Yeah.
Okay? They just couldn't find it. Now they know that it's there. I also discuss that in my workbook. Plus, they say, well, you have to get a balanced diet, you have to eat a lot of food all at once so you have complete proteins. I have the medical documentation for that in my workbook as well, showing that the body can store amino acids, and you don't have to eat all of the essential amino acids at every meal. And so a vegetarian diet, by the medical literature standards, is complete in every nutritional way. I give the evidence for it there.
Yeah.
So you do not need to have, people say, well, how do you get your protein?
Yeah.
Well, there's protein in all vegetables, fruits, and grains. I have a vegetable protein chart in my workbook as well, showing that spinach is 49% protein. Lemons are 16% protein. Everything has protein in it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about getting it from animals. By the way, why would you want to eat your food secondhand? The cows are smarter than people. They get their protein from eating grass.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And so then you say, well, I got to eat the cow.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then they say, well, look, the vegetables may have pesticides on them. Well, eat organically grown ones that don't have pesticides on them. But if you even ate vegetables and fruits that had pesticides on them, you washed them or peeled them, you're going to get a whole lot less than if you eat animal products, because the cow eats things that have pesticides on it and concentrates those pesticides in the meat, in its muscle.
Yeah.
So when you eat the cow, you're going to get 1,000 times more pesticides than if you eat the produce.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and this, of course, also is devastating for the environment, in that sense that we, there's so much fresh water and grains and all this stuff that goes to waste, basically because we humans have so much cattle or cows and.
All right, cows are. I have the statistics someplace, and I think I discussed those in one of my videos about how much land it takes to feed, say, 1,000 people.
Yeah.
If you're going to feed them a vegan diet, compared to if they're going to eat meat. and the amount of land that's necessary to feed people an animal-based diet is, huge compared to what it is to feed them a mainly vegan diet. Now, the other thing that's very important is in 1909, the incidence of cancer in America was 1 out of 33. Mm-hmm. At that time, the average American ate about 200 pounds of grains, and 200 pounds of potatoes, and about 300 pounds of grains. Now, the potatoes were not French fries from McDonald's. Okay, they were regular potatoes.
Yeah.
And the grains were cooked grains. And so the incidence of cancer in 1909 was 1 out of 33. By 1985, the incidence of cancer in America had grown to 1 out of 3. From 1 out of 33 to 1 out of 3. Now, what had happened? Yeah. Well, we had changed mainly from a fruits, grains, and vegetables-based diet to an animal products-based diet. Because during that period of time, the incidence of potato eating, of good homemade fresh potatoes, had gone down by 50%. The amount of grains eaten had gone down by 50%. The amount of milk that was being taken in by people went up over 50%. The amount of meat eating had doubled, and the amount of chicken eating had gone up 300%. And so what we had done was we went from a produce-based diet mainly to an animal products-based diet, and the incidence of cancer just absolutely became astronomical.
Yeah.
It was 1 out of 3 in 1985. Now it's 1 out of 2, and it's projected, medicine projects that by the year 2020, everyone in America will develop cancer sometime in their lifetime.
My God.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, that does not have to happen. You don't have to get cancer. You just have to learn the things that cause cancer and stop doing them. Everybody's afraid of cancer. When you're told you have a diagnosis of cancer, it frightens everybody terribly.
Yeah,
but I should say that you should be less worried about that if you know what to do than you are about heart disease. Because, see, 50% of all people with heart attacks, the first symptom is sudden death. Right? You don't have time to change.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you get a diagnosis of cancer, all you have to say is, what do I need to change? What do I need to change? Because doctors will tell you, we don't know what causes cancer. I used to say that. Well, we do know what causes cancer. And it's on my videos in my workbook because I found it in the medical literature. I was shocked because we were never taught any of that in our training. And for years, I never taught it to the doctors I trained because I didn't know it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you have to just think. As I said earlier, you cannot get a sick person well by giving them poison.
Exactly.
And if any of you listening have children, I would propose to you the following. Suppose you have a 10-year-old who's perfectly healthy. Well, why don't you let me have him for a few months? And I will give him 6 weeks of chemotherapy and 6 weeks of radiation, but don't worry about it. I'll pay for it. It'll be free. And I say, would you do that? You say, no, I'd never do that. I say, why? Well, make them sick, and maybe it would kill them. All right?
Yeah.
Okay, how about if I say to you, well, now your child is sick, and then you say, oh, I'll let you do chemo and radiation. You won't let me do it to them when they're well, but you'll let a doctor do it to them when they're sick. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's so desperate,
see? We are sick because our immune system is not working right. God gave us a wonderful immune system to keep us well and to get us well if we get sick. But we have to stop injuring it.
Yeah.
If a person came to me as an orthopedic surgeon and came in and said, look at my thumb, it's just mangled and it won't heal. And I say, well, what did you do? And I hit it with a hammer. Well, how long ago? Oh, I hit it with a hammer every day. Well, of course it's not going to get well if you hit it with a hammer every day.
Yeah.
But that's what we do to our bodies. We injure them every day by the food we put in our mouth, by not exercising, by not drinking water, by taking dangerous substances into our body like caffeine and NutraSweet and MSG, sugar, and all of these things, plus the other steps in the plan. By the way, we don't have time to talk about that today so much, but what you put in your mind is just as important as what you put in your mouth.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I hope we can a little bit later talk about some of these things, get into that. But as you said, there are so many different things here that I think, as you said, contribute to why we develop these kinds of diseases. And I think it was you who mentioned. Let me see if I can pronounce this. Arachidonic acid.
Arachidonic acid
is
in red meat.
Yeah, what's that?
It suppresses the frontal lobes where you make your decisions on morality and the decisions about how you're going to lead your life and the decisions about financial things. And arachidonic acid in meat suppresses your ability to make decisions.
That's pretty amazing.
and people eat this stuff all day long. They can't even imagine a meal without animal products in it. Well, I haven't been eating animal products for now about 14 years.
Yeah.
And I'm totally well and cancer-free. I had no radiation, no chemotherapy. I had no mastectomy.
Yeah.
I had a biopsy at 2 different hospitals for the diagnosis, and I thought they could, at that time, I thought you could cut cancer out. You can't cut cancer out, even if the doctor says, I got it all. Well, that's ridiculous, because that's like taking a child with chicken pox who's very sick and take him to the surgeon and say, I want you to cut out all the pox marks from my child's skin so they'll be well.
Yeah.
They're not going to be well because the pox marks in the skin are just the local manifestations of a body that is totally sick.
Yeah.
The tumor in a cancer patient is only a local manifestation of a body that is sick throughout.
Yeah.
You have to change everything about the way you're eating and living in order to get it well.
Yeah.
You can't just cut it out, because if you keep on doing what you've been doing, it'll come back again, either in the same place or someplace else, or you'll get some other terrible disease. And that's why second cancers occur quite frequently in people who survive their first after chemo and radiation, but the second one almost always kills them because they've had such destruction to their immune system that when the cancer comes back, either in the same place or another place, they have no immune system left to fight it, and so then they die.
And I also wanted to ask you, how about things like fermented foods and things like this? Is this something that's necessary considering when you're a vegan?
No, I do not eat fermented foods. Fermented foods are fermented. I don't eat fermented foods. I eat fresh foods. You don't need fermented foods. I know that there are like the Ann Wigmore diet and Edie Mae had a cookbook out, and they used a lot of fermented foods. I do not use fermented foods. I don't think they're good for the body. Fermented anything means it's rotting.
Yeah. Exactly,
and I don't use that. I only use fresh foods. And the more raw food you can eat, the better. By the way, I also talk about this on I've got 9 DVDs or videos on health. And I've got a whole CD